started your business for one word: freedom. At least if you're like me, you did. And I want to ask you a question. Do you have it? Are you working less? Are you earning more money? And are you having more fun than if you were just an employee in another business? Or is it the complete opposite? Are you working more, earning less, and are you way more stressed out in your business? Maybe you can't scale, maybe you can't grow, maybe you're the bottleneck, maybe everything in the business depends on you. If any of those are true, if any of those sound familiar, I want to have a fun little chat today about it. I've worked with thousands of business owners, and these are the common themes that I see when I talk to them. As we go through our business journey in life, me included, we got to ask ourselves these tough questions and figure out, are we moving on the path in the right way to get to where we want to go? And on this video, I want to talk about the one shift that I've noticed all entrepreneurs who really make it to that next level make in their life, and also the 4 phases of the entrepreneurial journey that I see people make all the time to go from where you are right now to where you really want to be in business and achieve that magical word, freedom. And I think the best way to do that is to go take a walk and chat about it. So let's do just that. Is there any better way than to talk about freedom, entrepreneurship, than to take your dog on a walk in nature, hear the birds, sounds? That is the best way. So I'm going to walk you through the 4 shifts you have to make to create true freedom in your life and the freedom that you've always wanted. But it's not what you think it is. It's actually quite different. And once you understand this shift that you have to make, the progression that you have to go through, then you will really understand how to create freedom in your life. And it's actually simpler than you think, but it is also harder. Or as one of my mentors used to say, it's simple, but not easy. In his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki talks about the cash flow quadrant. And this is something that has stuck with me for a very long time because it is so profound. And as you go through the 4 stages of the cash flow quadrant, you really understand the journey of an entrepreneur. And so let me walk you through those. The first one is employee, right? You start as an employee. And I'm going to walk you through my journey in life, which really coincides with the cash flow quadrant. And sometimes you take a step forward and take 2 steps back, and then you keep going forward on your journey, and that's okay. And so you're going to be able to identify, where you are in this journey and how to get to the next step, and hopefully how to not go backwards in the game, right? So employee, all right. So I went to law school and got my MBA, Pepperdine University, if there's any waves watching. And so when I got out of law school, I took a job as a real estate attorney at a law firm, and I got paid a pretty good salary. This was 20-something years ago, and salary was over $100,000, which was pretty good coming out of law school. And I was an employee. I traded time for money. I had to bill time. I had to log my hours, and every 2 weeks I got a paycheck. And probably took that a little bit for granted looking back on it, right? Because when I left that firm, I haven't gotten a paycheck since. And so I was an employee, right? Traded time for money. You work, you get paid. You don't work, you don't get paid. You quit, you don't get paid. Easy to understand, right? And by the way, I will tell you, I'm convinced that, the majority of entrepreneurs are probably better off as employees, to be honest with you, because the majority of entrepreneurs are after something that, they may not achieve. But I digress. So from employee, a lot of us entrepreneurs want to become self-employed. We want to control our own destiny. Again, we're after that magical word of freedom, right? I know I was. And so I had worked on a transaction in my real estate firm where one of the high net worth individuals bought a $17 million property. And the partner I'd worked for asked me to do the deal. He asked me to do all the paperwork and all the negotiations. So I did. And at the end of the transaction, I remember the closing package came into our office, and I had our check, which was about $6,000 because we had worked hourly, so I billed time for about $6,000. I can't remember my exact billing rate. It's somewhere in the $200 an hour range, $200-300. And the real estate agent who had secured the client and gotten the deal under contract got a check for 2.5% of the $17 million. And I looked at the two checks, and I remember walking into my partner's office and I said, hey, I'm on the wrong side of this check. How do I get the other check, right? Or I'm on the wrong side of the deal. How do I get the other check? And he laughed and he told me I got to get my broker's license. And that's actually exactly what I did. I got my real estate broker's license, opened up a brokerage, and now, hallelujah, I was self-employed, right? And when you're self-employed, for most self-employed people, the definition of that is that you actually own a job. Okay, I want you to hear this. I want to say this again. You own a job. You don't have a job, you own a job. What that means is that you're not paid every 2 weeks. That paycheck ain't coming, right? And it's not coming. However, you still have a job. You still have to do all the work. If you don't show up to your business, you don't get paid, right? If this is where you are, that's okay. Let me know in the comments below where you are in this journey, and we'll help move you forward together. So when you're self-employed, and this is probably 90, I don't have the statistics, but this is probably 90+% of entrepreneurs are just self-employed. They own a job, right? This is your neighborhood burger shop, the guy that shows up every day. This is your real estate agent. This is your investment advisor who's got to show up every day and get new clients and be all things in the business. And if this is you, then that, like I said, that's okay. We'll keep moving through. But this quadrant is where most entrepreneurs get stuck. They're self-employed, they own a job, they're still trading time for money. The only difference is there's no guaranteed paycheck. And that's why I say so many entrepreneurs would probably be better off just going back to being an employee. Nothing wrong with that, right? But for you and me, it's probably not what we want because we want freedom. So let's move ourselves into that third quadrant. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'm Danny. I own a company called All Star VAs. And my one goal with this company, I want you to hear this, is to help you earn more money, work less, and have more fun. To create systems around everything you do, to move along in what we're talking about in this video today, to get you to achieve the freedom in your life that I know you're after. And I'm so passionate about this topic. I've been doing it for a long time. And if you are as passionate about getting there as I am about getting you there, I want to invite you to book a call with our team. We'll walk you through how to make it all happen with a cost-efficient virtual assistant and an entire system. That is the key part. The system, not the hiring, but the system, the coaching, the training, and all that good stuff. And we do it in such a cost-effective way that no matter where you are in your business, you can make it happen. You can book a call by clicking the link below, scanning this QR code. We'll see you on there and we'll help you make it happen. And if this is content that you're enjoying, I also want to ask you, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. And now let's get back to the video. The third quadrant is business owner. And what's the difference between self-employed and business owner? Well, when you're really a business owner, instead of owning a job, you own a system. I'm going to say it one more time. Instead of owning a job, you own a system. And the biggest shift between these two quadrants to me is really mindset. The biggest shift is going from operator mode, you're doing everything, to owner mode, to CEO mode, to business owner, whatever you want to call it, right? Where you are delegating, where you're owning a system. And the way to get from self-employed to business owner is to think like a business owner. So I oftentimes will just ask myself, hey, if Elon Musk was sitting here with me or looking at me over my shoulder, and whether you like Elon Musk or not, it doesn't matter. Plug in your favorite CEO. I don't care who it is, right? Jeff Bezos or whatever. What would he say about what I'm doing right now? Right? When you're in operator mode, you are thinking, hey, how do I do this? How do I generate more clients? How do I get better marketing? How do I make more money? How do I keep more money? I, right? Hope you're getting this. When you move to owner mode, business owner mode, you're thinking in terms of system. How do we create a system? How do we delegate this? And a lot of this is just languaging and thought and and your own persona and how you're thinking about things, right? I guess he doesn't want to run around anymore, right? And so you're thinking, how do I delegate? Who needs to do this? One of the biggest shifts you can make in your thinking is going from how do we get this done to who needs to get it done. That is such a huge shift to make in terms of mindset, right? Everything you do, you're thinking in terms of systems. Do I have a system for that? If I don't, who's going to create it? And I think about this all the time. And so kind of going through my journey, so I went from employee, right, working at my law firm, to now I'm self-employed. I own a job, right? I had to show up every single day as a real estate broker, get clients and sell houses and all that kind of stuff. And then I hired my first assistant. And when I hired my first assistant, I went from self-employed to partly business owner. And I've gone back and forth on that so many times, I can't even tell you. And that's okay. But going to business owner, I hired my first assistant. Her name was Melissa. And I said to her, I want you to create an operating manual for how we run the business. And that was the first system that we had. And so for you, going from employee to self-employed to business owner, is how do you create a system around everything? It doesn't matter what business you're in. Just think about, how do we create a system around it, and who is responsible, not how. Now, what really is a system? This is something, system's a word that people throw around all the time. But what really is a system? Well, a system to me is very simple and straightforward. There's a few components. There's your standard operating procedure. How is this going to get done? The steps, the checklist, right? So whatever those are in your business, how do we get clients? How do we service clients? How do we handle fulfillment? How do we do everything, right? That's your standard operating procedure. Then you have your KPIs, which is how do we measure whether we're succeeding or not? It's kind of like your scoreboard, right? So key performance indicators. Just making sure my dog is still around. Yes, he is. Then you have your who, right? Who has ownership of the system? And when I say ownership, I mean who's responsible for making sure that this happens. And then last but not least is what is your escalation chain? So if something goes wrong, if something's not happening, if we're not winning the game, right, what do? Who's responsible for that? All right, so now when you have systems and you're a business owner and you own a system, now the income is not directly tied to you, right? Whether you show up or not, the system is running. If I'm not at my office tomorrow, if I'm not working, if I decide to take the week off, I still have, just as an example, 5 direct virtual assistants on my team. That's 200 hours of work that's going to happen whether I show up or not. Sales are going to happen, marketing is going to go out, things are going to go on even if I'm not there, and that's really what you're after as a business owner. And so you might be thinking, well, where do we go from here? Hey, we own the business, but we're still kind of responsible for it. We still own the system, right? I mean, I can leave for a week, but can I leave for a month? At this point, probably no. Some things would probably break, I would think, right? How do we go from business owner to the next phase, which is investor? And when you're an investor in quadrant number 4, what happens then is your money makes you money. Your business or your system or whatever it is makes you money. And now you can be in multiple quadrants at one time, right? So you can be a business owner and you own a system, and then you're also an investor in other areas. You're making money from your business, you're investing it in other places, and that's making you more money. Now we're seeing a compound effect on all of that. And that's kind of where we want to get to, right? Now, one of the ways to do that is to create residual income. This is something that I have given so much thought to, and it's something that I think about all the time, and you should too. How do you create residual income in your business? Because residual income is now your money making you money, your business making you money, right? You sell something once, you're going to get paid on it for a long time. And I believe that whatever business you're in, you can create residual income streams in that business if you just think about it properly. So what do I mean by this? Well, let me give you an interesting example, right? So I have a lot of clients, a lot of people that I work with at All Star VAs that are realtors, and some of those realtors work at a brokerage that contains a residual income stream model. So this would be revenue share, profit share, right? And so when they help that brokerage grow by recruiting other agents or bringing other agents to the brokerage, they're going to get paid a residual income on that. Now, they're only going to get paid a residual income, of course, if those agents are productive and if the company continues to make money and all that good stuff. But the idea is they've added residual income to what they're doing. I have other friends of mine that are in the direct selling space or network marketing, and they make money when they either sell products or services that continue to pay them, or they recruit other people that do the same. And that's another way to create residual income in your life and in your business. And I believe actually that this segment, residual income, is the most important thing you can do to move from employee to self-employed to business owner to investor as fast as possible. Because when you create residual income, for example, that covers all your monthly expenses, well, isn't that really what true freedom is about? Isn't that really what we're after? We're after location freedom and time freedom and money freedom, so we can do whatever we want, whenever we want. And the only way to really create that here is to not only move through those quadrants, but to move through them as quickly as possible, as smartly, I don't know if that's a word, as possible. And you do that not only by going from, you have a job to now you're self-employed, and you own a job to now you own a system to now your money's making money for you, but you also do that with residual or reoccurring income. So give that some thought. How are you going to not only move through the quadrants, but how are you going to add residual income, recurring income to what you do in your business and in your life? Now, when we talk about systems, there's something I want to mention, and that is that for every business, it doesn't matter what you do, there really are 5 key systems. They're kind of like the systems of your car. And in order for your car to run properly, in order for your business to run properly, you got to really optimize these 5 systems. And so until you do that, you're never going to really get to that business owner stage. And I cover all 5 of those on this video right here.